Angles with their vertex inside the circle. That's the last type of angle we haven't talked about. We've talked about angles with the vertex inside the circle, but specifically on the center of the circle. So let's say that point is the center of the circle. Let's say you have two lines across, two diameters right there. And we'll call this top angle right here 50 degrees, and that would mean that this bottom one would also be 50 degrees because they're vertical angles. And since they're on the center, the arcs are also 50. So when it's on the center, the arcs and the angle are the same. Everything's 50. Now, imagine if we slide these lines down. If we slide these pencils down, notice I'm not changing the angle of the pencils. I'm not doing this. They're still 50-degree angles, but look at my arc on the top. Now my pencils are way out here. That arc is a lot bigger, but look at my arc on the bottom. It was out to here, it's getting smaller. So as we move this off the center, the one side, the arc is getting smaller, the other side, the arc is getting bigger, but at a proportional rate, meaning that if the bottom one loses 10 degrees, the top one gains 10 degrees on the arc. So this is the basis of the formula for how you find these angles inside. They're not changing, they're still 50. And look, when they were right here on the center, the sum of the top arc and the bottom arc equaled 100. When we slide this down, that's still going to be the case. The arcs are still going to add up to 100. It's still, this one's going to get bigger, but this one's going to get smaller at the same rate. So if this one's 60, that one's 40. If this one's 70, that's 30. They still equal 100. So how do you get the angle of 50? You divide by 2. So let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. Here's a problem that you might see in the do section or on a test. You get two lines that cross. They don't cross at the center. So you get angles X and Y, and you're going to be asked how much is angle X or how much is angle Y. It doesn't matter. They're both the same because they're vertical angles. These two angles are going to be equal because when two lines cross, vertical angles are equal. What you need to know to figure out how many degrees are in those angles are what are the arcs. So that's what I give you over here on the right. This top arc is 60. The bottom arc is 40. So to figure out the angle that I'll call it X is equal to arc plus arc divided by 2. In this case, our arcs are 60 and 40, which is 100, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. So that's how you figure out an angle inside of a circle. It's pretty similar to what we did last week when the angle was outside the circle, except when it was outside, you subtracted. So if it was outside like this, and you had 60 and 40, then you would subtract those two angles to get 20, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So this would be a 10-degree angle in that case. So if the angle is outside the circle, you subtract. If it's inside the circle, you add your arcs. It seems pretty simple, and it is. It becomes a little bit more difficult when they give you the angle in one arc and you have to find the other arc. So let's say this arc is 30 and this angle is 40. What is this arc up here? How much is that? We'll call that X. Well, we know that the two arcs have to be twice as much as the angle, right? Because if you add these two arcs together and divide by 2, you're going to get 40. So what are you going to divide by 2 to get 40? 80. 80 divided by 2 is 40. So this arc must add with 30 to make 80. What adds with 30 to make 80? 50. So that's how you logically think about this in your head and work it through in your head. X is equal to 50. But if you use the algebraic formula, you get your angle is equal to arc plus arc divided by 2. You could fill in some of the numbers here. Our angle was 40. One of our arcs was 30. The other one is the X that we're trying to solve for, all divided by 2. How do you solve for X in this problem? You multiply 2 to the other side first, get rid of your denominator. 30 plus x, and then how do you solve for x? You subtract 30 to the other side, you get x by itself, and x is equal to 50. So whether you're doing this problem algebraically or thinking about it logically in your head, you should get 50 for your arc. And that's really all there is to problems that are, I call in problems, inside the circle, but not at the center.